to a new episode of Books and Beyond from the Winter Park Library, recorded live in the recording studio at the library in beautiful Winter Park, Florida. In Books and Beyond, we have conversations with writers, musicians, artists, presenters, and other contributors. Most of our guests have appeared live at the Winter Park Library or will be presenting soon. We hope you'll subscribe to the Books and Beyond podcast and that you'll stay up to date with library goings-on at winterparklibrary.org/events. That's winterparklibrary.org/events. I'm Michael Werner, and I'll be your host for our interviews. Enjoy the show. Hello out there, readers and library patrons and smart people of all shapes and sizes everywhere. Welcome to another podcast episode. Before we get started with our special guest we have today, a couple of housekeeping notes. First off, I'm a little embarrassed to say this because I always think of having my voice. My voice is for radio, but my face is for radio also. We have Brianna Hoffman here today recording us. She's the marketing manager here at the library, and she's filming us for use in other venues. So welcome, Brianna, to the podcast. Secondly, I wanted to remind everybody, if you would please, when you see this podcast or listen to this podcast, if you would leave us a rating on whatever platform you're using, whether it's Apple Podcast or Spotify, whatever you're using, give us a rating because the ratings help those platforms bring us up when people ask for library podcasts or things about books or whatever they're searching for. It helps us spread the word. So if you could do that for us, that would be great. And thirdly, don't forget, this library is incredible, and the offerings that it has are incredible. There are, and I'll ask our special guest in a minute here more about this, but every month there are dozens of events here at the library. So please check out winterparklibrary.org/events for upcoming events of all types. I mean, there are things for kids, teenagers, seniors, there's musicians, there are artists, there are authors, there are publishers. Anything that has to do with the broad range of arts is available here at the library. So really encourage you to check that out, winterparklibrary.org/events. Now, as I said, this is a special episode of the Books and Beyond podcast. We have a special guest with us today. His name is Andrew Montanez, and he is the manager of the Dream Room Lab here at the library. And we'll have him on here in just a second. But before that, wanted to mention that National Library Week is coming up. This year, it's April 7th through the 13th. Every year, there's a National Library Week, and all over the country, people are celebrating these incredible resources that we have, our libraries. So we encourage you to take part in National Library Week, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But let's talk to Andrew first. Andrew, as I mentioned, is the manager of the Dream Room Lab, and he's got an extensive background in technology, and now he's probably going to tell us he's kind of waded into the audiovisual world as well, because that's anything you plug in here at the library, Andrew's basically in charge of, I think. So I wanted to mention that Andrew's solved dozens, maybe hundreds of problems for people here at the library that have technology problems, and we'll talk to him about that. So welcome to the Books and Beyond podcast, Andrew.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, glad to have you. How long have you been here?
I've been here. This is coming up on my 10th year.
10th year, okay.
Yeah.
Is your background in libraries or?
I've been in libraries since I was 15, so this will be my 20th year in libraries.
Wow. Okay, so that makes you 35.
Yeah, actually, no. You know what? I'm on 21 then.
Okay.
It goes that fast.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. What did you do? How did you start? What were you doing at 15?
I started because I come from a family of librarians. So my mom's a librarian. My little brother's a librarian. He just graduated, has my same job in North Jersey. But my mom started as a librarian in Ocean County, New Jersey. And so I started out as a page.
Okay.
Worked my way up through the ranks, did circulation. I've done pretty much every aspect of library service. Started then after circulation, covering reference desk. And then reference desk is when I started really kind of doing these one-on-one book a librarian for technology help. That was a big thing.
Okay.
Nationwide, they had this book a librarian. You could just literally, any questions you have, you could schedule 1 hour.
Those. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just keep going, with whatever questions you might have for that full hour session.
So, and is that what got you into technology?
I've been in technology since the way back. So I
Okay.
can actually talk a lot with the guys that remember the 486, 386, the Intel Pentiums, like from the early 90s.
Yeah.
I can tell you my first computer was an AMD K6 Spitfire,
Okay.
700 megahertz.
Wow. I don't
With
remember that one, but
yeah,
okay.
it was 1996 ish.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it comes from my dad. My dad was a little bit of a tinkerer, but not to the level that I kind of just picked it up and always went
Yeah.
crazy with it.
Well, it's a good mix, right? I mean, because libraries are definitely headed into technology, as we're going to be talking about today. I mean, technology is maybe as important as books themselves.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely in this day and age with the advent of AI coming up. That's
Uh-huh.
the big term that everybody loves. But yeah, it's going to be our entire lives are becoming technologically focused.
Yeah. And do you train people here at the library as well on other librarians?
Yeah, there's always trainings going on with other librarians, just bringing them up to speed on what they need to know in order to, because a lot of technology goes into the classes that we give, the programs that we have. They need to know in case there's always something that can go wrong.
Right.
So yeah, I have to train them. We also hold classes for training the public. So every Monday and Wednesday from 4 p.m. to 5:30,
What are
we're
some of
having
the classes that you do?
Introduction to AI, everything from my mouser-size class. You've never picked up a mouse before. You don't even know what a left click
mouser-size,
or a
yeah.
right click. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all the way to at the other end of the spectrum would be like Adobe Premiere classes.
Okay.
Basic and intermediate Adobe Premiere classes.
That's for illustration and things like that?
That's for video editing.
Video editing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, and I know Jeremy has the class on how to use this studio.
Has the recording studio
as a
essentials, yeah.
recording studio essentials as well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that beautiful room you have over there, because a lot of people don't know this about libraries. I didn't know this about libraries, that you have this wonderful makerspace, and here you call it the Dream Lab, the Dream Room Lab. What kinds of things can you do there?
So you can do everything from laser cutting, laser engraving, 3D printing, professional photo production.
You can't make a house here, though, can you?
No.
Because I've heard of
Not
people
yet.
using 3D printing to
3D
make
printing a
houses.
house. Yeah. We don't have the right 3D printer for that one.
Okay.
But I mean, someday maybe.
Someday maybe, yeah.
I mean, we need it on a bigger scale, right?
Sure.
Unless a dollhouse, though, that's a whole different.
You could do a
we could
dollhouse.
do a dollhouse. Oh yeah,
Okay.
easily.
Okay.
Easily, we could cut out the pieces for a dollhouse.
Okay.
Whether we would do it on the laser cutter or we could do it on the 3D printer. So you actually have your choice.
Yeah.
But then you have sticker making. You could do any of let's say T-shirts, hats, tote bags, which we've done before, and then professional photo printing.
And do I do all those things myself as the patron, or do you help me, or
You do it all yourself. We definitely help you,
Okay.
but you are in the hot seat, and we are guiding you on
Okay.
how to do it. But then once you feel comfortable, then the training wheels come off, and because that's the whole thing about that makerspace is we're not here to do it for you. There's
Right.
businesses out there that do it for you.
Right, sure.
We're trying to empower you to be able to do it yourself, to not have to rely on other individuals.
Yeah, and I saw, and maybe you mentioned, I don't think you did. I saw the giant printer that you have over there for like giant
Large
posters and-
format
yeah.
printing,
Yeah,
yes. Anything up to 44 inches by 150 feet long.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yep.
That's a pretty big poster. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and it comes out in one piece.
One piece.
Wow, that's
150
amazing.
feet long, yeah.
Yeah.
Which then you can tile up, and I mean, you could wrap a building, really.
Yeah, yeah. And then you run, in addition to the Dream Room Lab, you run all the computers that are for public
All the
use,
computers, yeah. I mean, the easiest way, because a lot of people come by and they'll ask, like, well, what do you do at the library? And the easiest way I can possibly, like, sum it up without,
Yeah.
like, having this laundry list
You take care
of
the
description
computers.
is, I go, CTO.
Uh-huh.
CTO, your Chief Technology Officer, who does everything from acquisitions, implementation, research for what the next thing that the organization is going to purchase. That's me, basically.
Yeah. Sounds like you're a pretty critical component here at the library. I think Jody referred to you as a hero. So we're celebrating this week as next week is National Library Week. So you're one of the heroes here, as are many people.
Well, I'm
but-
humbled. You know,
yeah.
I try to stay humble about things, but I'm glad. I'm glad that it's recognized in that way, and that the things that I do mean that much to people.
Yeah.
That they want to use that term, and use that term when they describe me. So hey,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you have to, of course. Is there any just any special things you might share about the dream room, and any particular people that you've helped in a particular way, or anything that stands out that you want to share with us today?
One thing that really stood out to me, we recently had about, I want to say 3 weeks ago, but they've come in 2 more times since then. But starting 3 weeks ago, I had a mother of a special needs child come in. Very, very apprehensive about her child coming into the lab, being able to use the equipment, and exactly who would interact with their child. Because with a special needs child on the spectrum, anything can upset them. And it ranges, again, there's a spectrum, right? So it ranges as to what the outburst might be. But this mother was definitely descriptive in saying that if there were to be an outburst because of something that the other individual, the staff individual, said or did, could set the child off, and their outburst could be pretty problematic in the room. Screaming, yelling, and whatnot. The opposite of what you would have in a library, right?
Right,
The
sure.
more quiet setting. And so I did my best over the phone to really assure her that we would take the utmost care, give me some guidelines, because we don't have any training in handling special needs. We don't have any of those certifications. There are plenty of them for being able to interact with and on a professional level with special needs children. And so I had her kind of tell me, like, what are the triggers? Let me know. That way I can make sure to avoid that entirely. And so when she actually came in with her son is over 18. He's in his early 20s. So a full-fledged adult in terms of the state, but does not have, she is the legal guardian. All the paperwork is signed so that this person will never be able to get a credit card on their own. They have to have the legal guardian get the credit card for them. They'll never be able to own a house on their own without, the mother basically signing off on it. Because there's a lot of people that can take advantage of this individual, unfortunately. Yeah. And the thing that really struck me the most is that this person went to other libraries and was given a hard time. They really went through an arduous task of trying to get their special needs child who has an aptitude for high intensive programs such as the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite and specifically Adobe Illustrator to do laser cutting projects. The mother even looked into buying one of these laser cutters for her own house.
What do you do with a laser cutter?
So you can cut things, anything from like harder materials such as wood, balsa wood, plywood, even hardwood, acrylic, 1/4 inch thick acrylic. We're actually looking into a new laser cutter that'll be able to do things up to 8.9 inches thick.
Whoa. So
yeah, really thick materials can be cut on a laser cutter. But our current one right now is 2 inches of thickness at the max. And then also leather is another material. You can burnish, engrave, or be able to cut into leather as well.
And do you design all this on the computer first, and then
Yes.
it hooks into the laser printer, and you press a button, and it does it?
Exactly that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to design first and then bring it over. And there's different ways to design. We specifically choose our laser cutters so that they're super easy. You literally don't need to know anything about laser cutting with the particular laser cutter that we have. They don't even call it actually a laser cutter. So they like to call it a laser printer, because when you say the word cutter, it kind of gets you into this territory with the professionals where they kind of look down and go, that's not really a cutter.
Yeah.
So I say cutter because it does cut the material,
right?
But it is stated as a laser printer rather than cutter.
Okay.
But yeah, so this individual came in and already had the experience in Adobe Illustrator. I mean, more so than I have. I am not an Illustrator person.
Okay.
Most people that you'll ask, they're in one of two camps. It's either you're a Photoshop person or an Illustrator person,
Okay.
because both of them are total 180s of each other.
Okay, but they do the same thing.
They do the same thing to a rough extent. One is more for rasterization, the other one is vector, and what I mean by that is just that rasterization is your typical, you take a picture, you blow it up, it's going to all of a sudden look very blurry and pixelated. That's rasterization.
Okay.
And then vector is mathematical equations being behind that image, so that when you do blow it up and you put it on the side of I-4 on a big giant billboard sign, you don't get any of that pixelated quality to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So the thing is the two programs, even though they're both made by Adobe, they are very different. You know how to do something in one. Like I look at Illustrator and it's like completely backwards to me, and I'm just like, I could do this so much easier in Photoshop. But yeah, when it comes to the design world, especially laser cutting world, you want something like Illustrator. You want a vector file, because if you want to make the cut this tiny, or if you want to make the cut this big, you don't want to have to redesign it. When you're changing from something that could be a half an inch to something that's 19, 20 inches
Right.
in diameter.
Right.
And this person had those skills. They came in, and the first thing the mom said to me was, "Do you have any training in this?" And I said, "No, I've never worked with special needs individuals before." And she's like, "You are such a natural." I was kind of taken aback by that. That was a surprise to me, because I was like, no, never. I've never dealt with. I just, being polite,
And
kind about it, and don't ever. I have extensive time teaching. I mean, I've been teaching technology classes and been with the library for a long time.
So you've learned a lot about patience.
Exactly. And that's the funny part, is everybody always says, on the front, "Oh, you're so patient. You're so patient." And I'm like, oh, if you knew me at home. All my patience is here. So when I'm at home, no patience. If I want something, I'm on the Amazon and I'm like, "Buy it now. Can I have it by 2 to 5 p.m.?
Yeah, give me the speedy one. Yeah.
I'm not waiting for 2 days to get my, my delivery of my product.
Yeah. So what happened with our friend?
So they came in. They actually did whatever cuts they wanted to do. They like to make a lot of the puzzles that we have for children, the wooden puzzles.
Oh, so
they will cut out of wood.
That's an example of laser printing or laser cutting. Okay.
Yeah, those puzzles that they have where it's like the shape is already cut out in wood, and they'll have another piece, and that piece fits into that shape.
So you could do a bigger, like the states or something. Like
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, have like the empties and fill in all the states. Yeah, you could have each state like cut out, and just have that general outline of the entire U.S., contiguous U.S., and then drop the states in, which is something we do all the time with preschoolers and like kindergartners.
Okay.
So instead of buying it, you could make it yourself.
Okay. So you have school groups that come in.
Oh yeah, we've had the
Really?
Girl Scouts, Girl Scouts multiple times
Okay.
that we do a lot of private instruction for. But yeah, this person already was able to design it on their own. I mean, very high functioning to be able to understand this program enough to design their own little puzzle. They wanted to do the letters of the alphabet and numbers, and so within seconds, it's crazy. I look at him and I'm like, I can't even do that.
You want to give him jobs, right?
He's just going away, using all the keyboard shortcuts under the sun, and you just all of a sudden see all the letters just come up right on the screen, and it's unbelievable what this person is capable of. And so, yeah, it was just a matter of never telling someone, "No, you're not doing it right," or any kind of negative terminology. Just always using positive reinforcement and saying to them, "Oh, you're doing really well, but can I actually make a suggestion? Can I help you out here? I could show you something that might be faster, quicker," and just always sticking positively with the vocabulary that you're using. And that was the thing that the mother was just like, "You must have had training to do that." And I was like, "No, not at all."
Oh, that's a wonderful compliment to you. Yeah.
So I was glad, and now she exclusively wants to work with us. Has already come in 2 or 3 times already.
Wow, what a great story.
Because again, most I guess these other libraries that she's gone to were, they're very rigid, and so they have prerequisite classes, prerequisite tests before you're allowed to touch the machines, which is
for anybody.
understandable for anybody. Yeah,
Okay.
for anybody, they have to pass these tests in order to touch the machines, which is understandable. We looked into that when we were formulating our Dream Room Lab here, but I'm a very big proponent because of myself and my background. I don't hold degrees in all these different pieces of technology that we have in the makerspace. I learned it on my own. I mean, you go online, you go to YouTube, you use our own resources like Udemy, and you can learn these things without having to attend a college course. And so if you're able to do that and you have the wherewithal, the drive, the motivation to do it, then who am I to bar you, even though you already have the knowledge, by saying, oh, no. No, you have to have a piece of paper, a certificate that says you're allowed to even touch this machine. And so I'm a very big proponent of no boundaries, no trying to take that bar and bring it as low as possible so that anybody can come in and quickly pick up whatever they want to do, to quickly achieve their goals.
And you mentioned something there, Jeremy. I didn't know this. You mentioned Udemy. I know Udemy. Udemy is a collection of there are thousands of courses that you can take. The library has access to that, or we
yes,
can,
we have the full
as a patron of the library.
as a patron of the library.
Wow,
as long
that's
as you have
amazing.
the premium tier card, which means that you're a Winter Park
Yeah,
resident.
yeah.
Then
Oh, that's
you
fantastic.
get access to that.
That's a valuable resource. It's you have to pay, I don't know, a couple $100 a year to use it if you do it on your own.
Oh yeah,
maybe
yeah.
even
Easily,
more, I don't know.
easily. Sometimes because
Or you buy the courses by the course, right?
by the course. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can easily surpass a couple $100 very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great resource.
I like to call it professional YouTube. That's the way that I always call it. Like, because everybody knows YouTube.
Yeah.
So I just say, imagine professional YouTube.
Yeah.
Instead of any old person just making a video, and how do you know if that video is accurate, if that person knows what they're talking about? These are people that are vetted by the platform. They have to show their credentials before they're allowed to create this course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Learn something new today. That's good. I've always told people, the library is such an incredible place, and if you haven't been in a library for a while, you're going to be very surprised when you come into a library, because it's not like Grandpa's library where you just come in. There's a stack of books. There's just a ton of stuff here at the library. Before we wrap up here, is there anything else you want to share with us, Jeremy? I'm sorry.
No. It's all right. I think
I was
Jeremy,
just looking over at Jeremy. He's our production manager.
I
here.
mean, he's right there with me. He's one of those ones that works out in this room. So, I mean, he is definitely like my go-to person, especially for the audio-visual stuff. But in terms to answer your question, what's coming now down the pipeline, we're always looking at the newest technologies. You're always going to see the recording studio, the Dream Room Lab. There's even plans potentially for our Edith Bush main raked theater and this recording studio to potentially have upgrades in the future. That's always being done.
What might an upgrade be?
So recording studio, we're
Okay.
in here, right? And then
Right.
so when I chose all of this equipment, I always wanted the biggest ease of use. You come in, you don't know anything, and you can get started. But now for the professionals, what do? They want something a little more. So some upgrades would be our interface that we have, having a proper audio rack and with more inputs, to be able to potentially have a 4-piece band, be able to record something in here,
Wow.
and
Okay.
mic up an entire drum kit. That's one of the things which I can probably see Jeremy a little twinge in his eye, like, don't mention that. I don't know if we could do it, but we try. We have to have the big ideas, right? But that's something that I'm working on in the future. Even our monitors, or AKA speakers, the studio speakers, there's upgrades that can be done to those to have higher fidelity audio. The room has treatment in and of itself that could more sound dampening, for instance. There's a laundry list of things that you can do to the recording studio and the Dream Room Lab, respectively, that it always has to change. I mean, I think every 6 months there's like always a new product coming out.
Yeah.
The biggest case in point, just to put it plainly, is like our 3D printer. I bought a certain 3D printer, and literally 6 months later, another 3D printer just came out that wasn't available at the time that prints almost 5 times faster than ours.
Wow.
And it was only 6 months after, So
That's
and
technology, right? Yeah.
That's the world we're in. And with AI, I keep telling everybody, right now it's 6 months. Yeah. When AI finally kind of kicks off, we're at 3 months. There'll be major breakthroughs. Because this thing never sleeps, never eats, never takes a break, doesn't go to a union rep,
Right.
And so that innovation is just, orders of magnitude faster.
Yeah. It's incredible. Well, I love having you on the show. Love what you're doing here at the library.
Thank you.
I want to get more involved myself with some of the things you're talking about because I think it's of interest to anybody. So thanks again. But before we close up, I just wanted to mention again, we're celebrating National Library Week. So if you want to get involved as a listener, as a patron, please do so. There's a lot of ways to get involved here. The easiest way is just to come here and do something. Come to one of the events, and that's winterparklibrary.org/events. You can, of course, make a contribution to the library. We love that. You can donate books at the library's bookstore. You can buy books from the New Leaf Bookshop here at the library. Just a ton of ways to get involved. You can come and see Andrew if you need help in making anything in the makerspace, the Dream Room Lab. So we appreciate everybody's support, and we will see you next time. That's it for now. So long, everybody.
So long.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Books and Beyond from the Winter Park Library. This podcast would not be possible without the generous help and support from the library staff, and especially from Jeremy Zorn. Jeremy's official title is Public Services Librarian, but he does many things here at the library, including producing this podcast. We can't do this without you, Jeremy. Our theme music is from the song Don't Go by Bovine Joe and the Buffalo Herd. That's Herd spelled H-E-A-R-D. We hope you'll let your friends and others know about this podcast and that you'll come by the library for one of our offerings, which you can find at winterparklibrary.org/events. That's winterparklibrary.org/events. If you have questions or suggestions for the podcast or just want to talk about Books and Beyond, please send an email to podcast@winterparklibrary.org. That's an email to podcast@winterparklibrary.org. Remember that the Winter Park Library promotes the free and open exchange of ideas and does not attempt to control or take responsibility for any opinions that may be expressed in this podcast. Opinions expressed in this podcast do not constitute or imply an endorsement or a reflection of the library's policies or beliefs. This is Michael Werner, wishing you well until our next episode of Books and Beyond.